Former WNBL, WNBA star, former Opals captain, and she's now Elite Teams Administrator with the Dandenong Rangers. A great pleasure to welcome her to the program. Trish, great to have you with us. Welcome.
Thank you. Thanks for having me.
It's a pleasure. Elite Teams Administrator. What's an Elite Teams Administrator? How different is it to maybe being General Manager of Operations?
Look, it's very similar. Pretty much, I'll do a lot of stuff that's relative to off the court. So anything on the court, I leave it up to all the coaching staff. Anything off the court in terms of, there's so much to it. I mean, it's getting everything ready so they just have to walk on the court and play. So it starts with uniforms and signing players. I work very closely with the coaches in signing players. So I do all the contracts leading into the season. Then organising housing, cars, medical, insurance, uniforms. The list goes on and on. It's a really long list, but it's a job I love. I've been doing it now for 10 years, both in Sydney and here at Dandenong. Absolutely love it. It's a great opportunity to, having previously played, you have an understanding of both sides, how it all works, and that's really important.
Was that an area you always wanted to get into with the sport? Coaching was something that wasn't your go or something that you were interested in, but this was something that you sort of discovered by accident, Trish?
Look, I wasn't really too sure what I was going to do after sport. It sort of just fell in my hands a little bit. So it just timed really well that when I retired in Sydney that this job came up. The job came up pretty much a year later. I took a year off. Had played a bit of tennis for a year, so I was sort of cruising along for a year. Then this opportunity came up and thought I'd probably enjoy it. So, they pretty much gave me the job straight away without too much effort. So having played there and been a big part of the Sydney program, it was quite easy to transition. And obviously when I moved to Melbourne, very similar role, a lot of the jobs. So that transition was really easy as well. So coaching was never really something I was going to get into. I've coached at junior level and I really enjoy that. But I'm not passionate enough about it to make it my career. But I do enjoy at grassroots level. Obviously, as an ex-player, you've got a lot to give back to the game. So I really enjoy working with the kids.
If you have time, and I'm sure during game time, particularly a home game, when you are the main administrator, you've got so many different jobs to do, as you mentioned earlier, Trish. Do you look at a game and think, I could do that a bit differently, I'd like to do that a bit differently, this is what I might do, that you might maybe occasionally, if they ask for it, give advice to Michelle Brogan or to John White or to the head coach, Larissa Anderson, or do you only do it if they ask you?
Yeah, look, I don't get too involved. They're there because they're very good at their job. If they ask me for any feedback, I definitely will give it. The unfortunate part of my position is I'm running around on game night and I only see very small parts of the actual game. So I'm probably not the best person to talk to, actually. So I don't get to sit there and watch a full game ever, which is sad. So, but I enjoy my job and our game days are really good. I'm a big part of that, so I'm very proud of that. I do get along to a little bit of training and I'm given a bit of feedback on different things over the months. So, if they ask me, I'm more than welcome to give them feedback, but I definitely don't go out of my way to talk to them about anything on the court unless I'm asked because, the three coaches that are there are very, very good and work very well together. That's why they're there and that's their domain and they do it really well.
Former champion Australian player, and she also played in the WNBA as well as the WNBL and captained the Opals and now respected administrator, firstly with Sydney and now with the Dandenong Rangers in the WNBL, who find themselves on top of the table with 7 wins and 3 losses. Trish Fallon has joined me, Dan Lonergan, on the Lunchbox on EON Sports Radio. 7-3, Trish, pretty good start to the year. Happy with that?
Yeah, they're doing really, really well. It's probably a problem for most teams. They all come together quite late. Quite a few of our girls are playing Siebel in the off-season, so we really only get them together literally for 3 or 4 weeks before the season starts, which is not a lot of time. The importance of getting players back returning, so you're not starting with a new group, is really important. I think that transition of having quite a few players return from last season has made that much easier and enabled us to get a really good start to the season. So, no, we couldn't be any happier at the moment. Sitting, top of the table is brilliant. But any given week, as you've probably seen the results, anyone can beat anyone. So you go into every game, you've got to be extremely focused because it's quite an even league, very similar to last year. So we've been fortunate in a way that we've had a long home run with 8 games in a row to start the season. That always helps, but obviously in the second half of the season we're on the road a bit, so it's important we get as many wins as we can under our belt before, the road trips are tough. It's a lot of travelling. It takes a lot out of the girls, and you don't get to train as much as what you would when you're at home. So, it's a big second half, but it's a great position to start with leading into Christmas. If we can pick up the last few games, that would be great. But like I said, it's a really even league. Anyone can beat anyone. So this Saturday we've got Sydney Uni, big game. They're coming off 3 straight wins, so they're on a roll. They're playing really, really well. It's going to be a huge clash down at Dandenong Stadium Saturday, 6:30. Be there.
What would you prefer, to play all those home games early or mix and matching a bit?
Oh, look, it's really hard on myself. I mean, I'm working every game day, so that's 8 weekends straight.
Yeah.
So it's not easy from my end. Look, you want to mix, I think. You don't want to be travelling too much in the second half. I mean, we've still got our first 2 home games in January at home and then another 2 in February, so it's not like we don't have any. It is a bit tough, the end run, but look, they'll be coming off a bit of a break. So over Christmas they get some days off, they get to rest and let the bodies recover a bit, and they come in strong in the new year. So that will definitely help those when they hit those road trips. But look, they're good. They're having a really good season, so they'll go into that break really confident, and that'll definitely carry over into the new year.
Be nice to beat Bendigo. You haven't beaten Bendigo yet, and you've got to travel up there. So it is as Larissa has said, it is a massive weekend because you're at home on Saturday night and then you're expected to drive a couple of hours up the Calder Highway on Sunday. So that makes it pretty tough. I'm sure that this week training will be a little bit different, especially later on with some tapering off to make sure you're cherry ripe for those 2 games. Yeah,
definitely. That's a really tough road trip. Every team's got some like that, so it's not like we're the only ones. We've just got to deal with it. Saturday's a really big game. Backing up's always really tough. And Bendigo are playing extremely well as well. They're tough at home, and they're getting some big wins on the board. So, look, they'll go out and fight hard on Saturday. Leaves no time for recovery. Obviously, our recovery will be immediately after the game. So the importance of, warming down properly and having ice baths and refueling is really important to get up and be able to come back and hit them hard in Bendigo on Sunday.
How hard is it to back up playing one match one day and then play the next day? There used to be a situation where you might play every second day, and there's a situation in the NBL now where a team will play interstate and then they're expected to be at home a couple of days later. I mean, I would have thought it would take a fair bit out of the body, Trish.
Yeah, it does. That happens in our league. There's rounds like that in the WNBL as well. It's just part of the draw. Like I said, recovery is really important in maximising, making the most out of players the next day. It's tough. We've got some good depth in our team. That's, I think, really important. So if we can get, a few players hitting the court on Saturday, and hopefully we're in a position where we can rest our, the players that are playing big minutes. It'd be great to be able to rest them a little bit going into Sunday. But look, Sydney are tough, and I'm thinking it's going to be a really close game. So the more rotations we can get in with the depth that we have, the better we are for Sunday.
You mentioned earlier, Trish, that one of your roles is to recruit players. How important is it, and also a double-barreled part of this question, how hard is it to get the imports that you want, considering, I suppose, you've got all the other clubs in the competition and other clubs around the world clamouring for good players too, especially those from America? Yeah,
exactly. It's a long process. I mean, there's a lot of good players out there, and we do majority go to the USA. We certainly can't compete with the European leagues. That's where the big bucks are, and a lot of them do go over there. So it's a bit of a process of elimination, really. We target a few players, and then we go through that list, and when we find the one we really want, we go hard. We're fortunate where we've got, Ali Mallet and Nat Novosel have fitted into our program really, really well. It's not the importance of how well they can play. That's really important. But for us, we're looking at players that can fit into our culture that we're trying to build here at Dandenong. And those 2 players have fitted in wonderfully well. that they just get the job done. I mean, Nat's been injured for a few weeks now, but we're hoping she's back on Saturday, which will be, a great addition to Sydney, to the game on Saturday against Sydney. So, we've really missed her a bit, but we have been getting some wins without her. But she's that's another rotation that we'd really, really like to have, and we welcome her back. And Ellie's fitting in perfectly well. So that's important for us. They're really good people, and everyone on the team gets along really, really well. So and that's definitely showing on the court.
You're experienced in helping these girls from overseas settle in. How tough is it for them, though? And do you find you're having a lot of one-on-one conversations, particularly early on, when some of them might be struggling to settle in a new country, a new environment?
Look, the players we've had have done all right. Like I've chatted with them a little bit. Some have adjusted very well and very quickly. Like our import last year took a little while to get used to things, but they pick it up really quickly. And I think the fact that we've got a group of girls that they just fit in really easy and they really make them feel welcome helps that transition a lot. So Nat Novacell's been here for a few years now, so she knows what's going on here. She's no problem at all. And Ellie's just fitted in so well. She's a wonderful person, great personality, and just fits in so good with the group that we've got. And she's also, Nat and Ellie are in our Rangers house, so they're there with Sarah Blickhardt, so we don't put them out on their own. They're always with other players sharing accommodation, so they're really well looked after by their teammates.
And how good is it that you can get a lot of WNBA players coming over to play? And I mean, Ali was a reasonably high draft pick as well. It just indicates that this competition is well thought of, isn't it?
Yeah, it is. It's highly regarded by the Americans. Like, if they're not going to Europe, this is their next place they want to come and play. Like, I've heard many players asking Australians that are playing in the WNBA, ask questions about our league and how we get there and who do you know that we can get in to play with one of the teams. So, we've well represented, in the WNBA, and they know Australian players, and we're easy to get along with. We're very laid back, and they know how we train and play. So we're highly regarded. I mean, I think we're considered the second best league in the world, really, behind the WNBA. So, and they know when they come out here, they're really well looked after, and that doesn't always happen when you go to Europe. We always pay on time. They're put up in places at a nice place, and they don't have to worry about anything, which is important too when you've got younger imports coming out for their families to know that they're well looked after by our club. So that's why we are a very popular destination for American players, and it's also lifestyle as well. They're coming into a beautiful summer as opposed to going to Europe, and they're in winter. So it ticks all the boxes for Americans.
Trish, there's the issue, of course, now there is no live television or free-to-air television for the WNBL. For many, many years, ABC Television did an outstanding job, and then, of course, they closed down their TV department, basically, like they've reduced their radio sports department a little bit too, unfortunately, because of budget cuts. Do you think we'll ever get to see free-to-air WNBL basketball on television again, or do you think maybe Fox might one day do what they've done with the NBL and eventually pick it up? And how important is it that it goes back on television again for its profile?
Yeah, look, it'll happen for sure. I have no doubt that it'll happen again. We're sort of at the bottom now, but we've got people at BA. Sally Phillips is now in there, head of WNBL. She's there full time. She's working really hard and tirelessly to get this back on TV. So I know they're doing the hard yards in there. It's just a matter of finding some corporate dollars to help support it. I know for a fact that the stations are ready to pick us up, tomorrow. We just need to find the dollars to back it, to get them in there. So they're working really hard, heading out the door, banging doors down to find some corporate sponsorship money, and for sure we'll be back on TV. And it is very important. I think people, we've got a strong history of results at national level, and where, grassroots basketball is booming. I mean, the participation numbers are huge, so there's no issues there. The kids love the game, and kids need to be able to watch basketball. In particular, the girls need someone to, players to aspire to, and to be able to watch the game on TV is a huge thing. It had a huge impact on me being able to watch basketball when I was young, and look, that's where I've ended up, So it'll get back on there. It's a lot of hard work, and it shows that there's other sports doing really well. Football's doing well, soccer and cricket. So the opportunity is definitely there. It's just fixing a few things and banging some door down, and I'm sure it will happen.
You talked about the fact that the basketball is booming, especially at junior level. I mean, the southeastern suburbs is where Dandenong is based, of course, in Melbourne, Trish, and you couldn't find probably a spare court, could you, in regard to basketball? It just has been huge and popular out that neck of the woods for a long, long time now.
Yeah, it's huge. I mean, at Dandenong Stadium, there's never a spare court. I mean, It's unbelievable the numbers that are playing. So the interest is there. So, I mean, there's you can't question that basketball's in a great place at the moment, for sure. So just at that top level, we just need to get back on track and get some corporate money behind us, and everything will be good to go.
And the crowds you're getting, as I say, you've had a lot of home games so far this year. Happy with the response you've had from the public so far?
Yeah, crowds have been good. They've been good. I mean, it's tough asking our fans to come every week to a game. I mean, some games you get more than others, but overall it's been really good. And the quality of the game's been great this season. The games are great to watch. Entertainment's always really good, and there's a lot happening on game day. Not just the game itself, but interaction with the fans. And I know they walk away having had a great night. So we're looking forward to this Saturday night. It's another big game, and that's our last game before Christmas. So we're hoping everyone comes down before the girls hit the road before their Christmas New Year break. We'll have a lot on. There'll be Santa visiting and a whole lot of giveaways and. Yeah, all the usual with our in-game DJ and dance crew, and it's a great night out for everyone, and hopefully, get all the mums and dads to bring their kids down for the last game before the break.
And what time's the start on Saturday night, Trish?
6:30 p.m. tip-off, Dandenong Stadium.
Okay, well, make sure we're all there. We really appreciate your time today. Good luck on the weekend and good luck for the rest of the season. Hopefully we'll chat again soon. I really appreciate your time on the lunchbox.
No worries. Thank you for having me.
It's a pleasure. Trish Fallon, one of the all-time greats of Australian basketball. Wonderful to see her still heavily involved as elite teams administrator. She's a former WNBL, WNBA star, Opal's captain. She won, multiple medals. Bronze, 1996 Atlanta. Silver, 2000 Sydney. Silver, 2004 Athens in the Olympic Games. And also World Championships, she won a bronze as well, 2002 in China. As she said, started in Sydney in this role and now in Dandenong. They play Sydney University, 6:30 tip-off at home this week, another home game out in the southeastern suburbs of Melbourne, just off the freeway there. And then they're on the road again to Bendigo in central Victoria, who they haven't beaten yet.